Sorry about that. It is now 6:41, and I'm calling the Urban Design Commission meeting to order. May we have a roll call?
Nicole Rain,
Here.
Monica Sullivan,
Here.
Melissa Morse,
Present.
Barbara Cash,
Here.
Edith McKee, Art Clark, Art,
Oh.
Art Clark, Art Clark,
Hello.
thank you, and Allison Gordy.
Here.
Moving on to minutes, may we have a motion to approve the minutes from Wednesday, March 10th?
And Allison Gordy.
Here.
Moving on. I have a motion to approve from Edith McKee and a second from Commissioner Morse. Are there any objections or corrections to the minutes? Hearing and seeing none, the minutes are approved. Moving on to special order of business. First, before we get into disclosures this evening, I'd like to introduce our newest member of the commission, Allie Gordy. Thank you so much for being a part of our UDC. We love having you. Okay, moving on to disclosures. Are there any disclosures this evening? Nobody has any disclosures. I do have
I have a disclosure,
Okay.
actually. Sorry, I was working out the technology.
Commissioner Gordy.
Yes. I have a conflict of interest on both cases 2021-0035 and 2021-0036.
Sorry, we have a muting issue. Okay, I'm sorry. So you were gone for you're just recusing yourself from the minutes?
Disclosures, I was recusing myself from the public hearings that are coming up. Items 2 and 3.
You have to?
Yes.
We haven't heard those yet.
Oh, so do I not?
My apologies. I'm having a hard time hearing because we're trying to mute participants that are joining late. She was speaking and I totally missed exactly what she was saying. So, okay, would you please state your disclosure?
Yes, I have a conflict of interest on both cases 2021-0035 and 2021-0036 from tonight's public hearing agenda.
Thank you. And what conflict of interest?
I'm on the design team for both projects.
Okay.
For that project. Sorry.
Okay. May we have a motion to direct Commissioner Gordy to participate in cases, bear with me, 2021-0035 and 2021-0036. We have a motion from Commissioner Morse, seconded by Commissioner Cash. Commissioner Morse, would you please speak to your motion?
Yes, Chair. I do not intend to support the motion of the commissioner participating in these two cases.
Thank you. And Commissioner Cash, would you care to speak to your second?
No, I agree.
Okay, may we have a vote?
Arthur Clark,
No.
Barbara Cash, Ms. Cash,
Yes. Oh, no.
No.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Ms. McKee, Ms. Morse,
No.
Ms. Gordy, oh, that's right, and Ms. Sullivan,
No.
Chair Rame.
No.
Rame.
Thank you, Commissioner Gordy. Are there any other disclosures? Okay. I do have a disclosure this evening. In the matter of case 2021-0049, Municipality of Anchorage, PM&E, Context-Sensitive Solutions Transportation Project Plans, 4th Avenue Signals and Lighting Upgrade, E Street to A Street. The firm that I work for is hired to perform the construction inspection when this project is awarded. So the conflict would be that my firm will be working on this project this summer. Okay. So may we have a motion to direct me to participate in case 2021-0049?
I move to direct the chairperson to participate in the hearing.
Sounds like we have a motion from Commissioner Clark. Do we have a second? Commissioner Morse? Commissioner Clark, would you please speak to your motion?
I do not intend to support the motion. It does sound like a conflict.
Okay. Commissioner Morse, would you care to speak to your second?
I also do not intend to support this motion for you to participate in that case.
Thank you. May we have a vote?
Mr. Clark,
No.
Ms. Cash,
No.
Ms. McKee,
No.
Ms. Morse,
No.
Ms. Gordy,
No.
Ms. Sullivan.
No.
Okay, so for the record, I will not be participating in the regular agenda case 2021-0049. Okay, I'm sorry. Moving on to item 2 on special orders of business. We are at the annual election of officers. Due to the fact that I have recused myself I have been recused from one of these cases and we have a vacant chair seat, we have a couple of options. We can move annual election of officers to the end of the agenda and nominate one of our fellow members to participate as chair. Or we may elect the officers at this point. Is there any discussion on this matter? Any preference?
Ms. Chair, I don't have a way of raising my hand on my screen. May I speak?
You may speak. Thank you, Commissioner Morse.
I would like to motion that we move forward with the vote for the chair.
To the end of the agenda?
No, current,
Oh, you'd like to move to, okay.
to keep the agenda as is.
And do we have to move? Is there any opposition? Is that Commissioner Clark?
Yes, I agree with Commissioner Morris. I think it's best that we go ahead and get this done.
Okay. Okay, so we will go ahead on to item 2 of the special order of business, annual election of officers.
Excuse my ignorance, please, but are we electing a chairman and a vice chairman at this time?
We are, Commissioner Clark. I am learning the process as we speak.
I move to nominate our current chairperson as the ongoing chairperson for the committee.
So to make sure I heard that right, you move to retain myself as chair.
That is correct.
Okay, do we have a second? We have a second from Commissioner Morse? Okay, Commissioner Clark, did you want to speak anymore, or is that your statement?
I'll say that I think the current chair has done an excellent job of being the chairperson for this committee in some very trying times.
Commissioner Morse?
I would like to support this, this motion for the current chair to remain chair and offer a friendly amendment of Edith McKee as vice chair.
Pardon me?
I was offering Edith McKee as vice chair.
I will be more than happy to accept that friendly amendment.
So I think, Commissioner Morse, we do them independent, so if we...
Okay.
Is that okay? Okay.
I'm just trying to...
Okay, so now we can vote on just the chair. May we have a vote?
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Cash?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Ms. Morse?
Yes.
Ms. Gordy?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have made it through the annual election of officers for the chair to remain myself. May we get a nomination or a motion for the vice chair, or would we like to retain Commissioner Morse's motion? Would you like to restate your motion?
Yes, Chair, I move to nominate Edith McKee as vice chair.
Okay. In a second?
I'll
Commissioner-
second that motion.
Looks like Commissioner Cash beat you to the punch there. Okay, so we have, and I believe Commissioner Morse is going to support your motion.
That's correct.
Okay, and Commissioner Cash?
I support it.
Okay, may we have a vote on the vice chair as Commissioner McKee?
Mr. Clark,
Aye.
Ms. Cash,
Yes.
Ms. McKee,
Yes.
Ms. Morse,
Yes.
Ms. Gordy,
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan,
Yes.
Chair Rame.
Yes. Okay, looks like we have made it through everything to the regular agenda. So as your chair being recused, I will leave the assembly chambers for this case and hopefully be brought in after the case is over and relieve the new vice chair.
Can I recommend anyone on the call to mute if you're not speaking?
Could you repeat that, please?
An individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Urban Design Commission takes, except commission recommendations to the Assembly which are not appealable. Appeals must be filed with the clerk's office within 20 days after approval by the Urban Design Commission of the resolution, which is the commission's final decision. A fee for the appeal is required at the time of filing. Moving on to the regular agenda, we have case 20210049. The Municipality of Anchorage Project Management and Engineering is before us for a context-sensitive solutions transportation project site plan review. Plans in hand for the 4th Avenue Signals and Lighting Upgrade E Street to A Street. May we have staff's presentation?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair McKee. So this is a plans in hand, which context-sensitive solutions, which means it's at the 65% design phase. This is for upgrades along 4th Avenue from A Street to E Street, which is just over a quarter-mile long project corridor. The project proposes to upgrade traffic signals and lighting systems. The 2018 Downtown Lighting and Signals Upgrade Reconnaissance Study evaluated the condition of signals and lighting equipment in downtown Anchorage. That resulted in a long-term plan to address issues. That study also identified 4th Avenue as having the greatest need for electrical system replacement, with identified issues including corrosion on anchor bolts, the need for grounding systems, and concerns with lighting for safety. In the project corridor, the existing lighting was installed in the 1960s and 1980s. There are currently sidewalks on both sides of 4th Avenue within the project corridor. However, in the eastern half of the project corridor, the sidewalk is only 6 feet wide, and code requires the sidewalk to be 11.5 feet wide in this part of the municipality. Not all of the sidewalks meet Americans with Disabilities Act or ADA requirements. Most of the storm drain inlets in the project corridor are in poor condition, and the pavement also has signs of degradation. This project would propose to replace traffic signals at 3 existing signalized intersections, add curb bulbs to intersections, replace the lighting system, replace light bulbs to include planter baskets, update the sidewalk between lighting components and adjacent to buildings to address storm drains, and update the sidewalk to meet ADA standards. It would place street tree plantings and also participate in the 1% for Art program. This project was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission at the concept report phase, and then again at the design study report phase. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with conditions during the design study report phase. I went back and discussed the 3 conditions that the Planning and Zoning Commission had placed on their approval. I felt that 2 were met and would not need to still be conditions of the Urban Design Commission's potential approval. So the 2 that I feel have been worked out are the turning radius for a larger vehicle with traffic engineering, and then getting a stormwater pollution prevention plan before construction. I felt a condition of approval should still be in place for verifying the design of barrier support locations that may be used safely for events, including those surrounding Fur-Rondi events around the start of the Iditarod, and that would be worked out with traffic engineering. The Urban Design Commission reviews planned in hands applications and shall either approve with conditions, or reject the plan. The things that go into the review of the plan are outlined in Title 21, Chapter 3, Section 190B5C, and there are 7 items. I'll just go over those briefly. I'd summarize them in my staff report. But the first item is compliance with Title 21. This project is compliant. The project has been on a little bit of an accelerated timeline in order to take advantage of the COVID-19 impacts into the summer of 2021 that will have fewer people in that area and fewer visitors. However, the project team discussed these issues with planning staff early on, and the project has still followed all normal review. It was just allowed to have a little bit less lag time between the different phase applications, but it still went through the full normal process. 2 is that the context of the area and the long-term impact on adjacent land uses, that it would match the context and the long-term vision. The existing land use is mostly commercial. The project corridor is within a newly designated Anchorage mushing district, and the district is to have informational plaques and other designations. The project corridor runs between the B2A Central Business District core and the B2B Central Business District Intermediate. Those are both downtown districts, and the project is consistent with those zoning designations and their intent. The 2040 Anchorage Land Use Plan designates this area as city center, and that also matches, this project would match that designation. The 2040 land use plan has revitalizing downtown as a key strategy for Anchorage as a regional economic and cultural center. This project aligns with that designation. The third thing to consider is the cost of materials, including installation. The total cost for all construction phases and construction administration is estimated at $6.1 million. I did note in my staff report that the design study report included a 20% contingency in the cost estimate. If that were included, it would be just over $7 million as the cost. And this project is being funded with municipal bonds. 4 is to consider long-term costs associated with operation and maintenance. The project is expected to have costs similar to those that are in place currently. Even though the number of streetlights is being doubled, they're being replaced with LED lights, which will cost less to run. And efficiencies will be gained by standardizing the traffic signals and electrical service connections. This project would also do a bit of preventative maintenance that could prevent large costs in the future. So I made a little paragraph at the end of that discussed that. So it would address the storm drains. It would rehab them with slip lining to maintain their long-term use. And the project is also planting the trees with soil cells that should ensure better long-term survival. 5 is adherence to a design theme established through local area plans or prior public improvements. The plans in hand narrative notes concurrence with the 2007 Anchorage Downtown Core Streetscape Plan, which classifies 4th Avenue as a signature street. This project is implementing several things that are outlined in the streetscape plan. Those include increasing sidewalk widths, narrowing travel lanes east of C Street, providing curb bulbs, providing street trees, and matching pedestrian lighting styles. There's a couple design themes that this project will not implement, and they provide pretty good reasons for not doing that. So the heated sidewalks, it would add a lot to this project scope and cost, needing to add boiler rooms. There is a concern with raised intersections for affecting vehicle travel and maintenance. And public seating, there are concerns for loitering. The new light bulbs will be similar to the existing ones that are the green pedestrian acorn style lights, and the poles will allow for the banners and flower baskets. There are also areas marked as opportunity areas in the construction detail. Those could potentially be used for design elements of the new mushing district. 6 is effectiveness in meeting community design goals. The application notes pretty extensive coordination and consultation with entities for input, and the design is also consistent with goals outlined in planning documents. The streetscape narrative did go into detail on the street trees. It looked upon past lessons. For this project, they're spacing the trees further out and giving them a higher soil volume, also raised planter walls, which should give them protection and a better chance at a long-term survival rate. 7 is the accommodation of pedestrians and non-motorized users. This project incorporates several features that would do that, including widening the sidewalk, the curb bulbs, a scoring pattern that was designed to minimize bumpiness for strollers or wheelchairs, and the light bulbs will improve pedestrian safety. There were no substantive comments or objectives received, and with that, the department recommends approval of this context-sensitive solutions plans in hand application, subject to the following condition, which is to verify with traffic engineering the design of barrier support locations that may be used safely for events. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next. Is there a representative of the petitioner who wishes to speak? If so, please state and spell your name for the record.
Yes, Vice Chair McKee, this is Will Webb with Kinney Engineering. That's WILLWEBB, and we are representing the municipality as petitioner's representative. With me this evening, we have Julie Makala of Project Management and Engineering. She's the Municipal Project Administrator. We also have Peter Briggs with Corvus, who is the project's landscape architect.
Hello, Will. You have 10 minutes for your presentation. Is there any time you'd like to reserve for the end?
Yes. May we reserve 3 minutes, please?
Yeah, 3 minutes will be reserved.
Thank you. So, Madam Vice Chair and other commissioners, thank you for giving us the opportunity to present this project for you. Staff covered it very thoroughly, so I think we'll be brief with our presentation, and we'll spend more of our time to answer any questions you may have. As mentioned, this is the 4th Avenue Signals and Lighting Upgrade from E Street to A Street. The project was been initiated to reconstruct traffic signals and lighting systems in the downtown area, particularly here along 4th Avenue, because when we did our condition assessment through the entirety of downtown, we found 4th Avenue to have the highest density and the most concerning electrical system, so we wanted to focus on this area first. However, although we would really just like to focus on the traffic signals and lighting and the other electrical components, as soon as you start digging up the sidewalk to replace electrical stuff, you end up getting into sidewalk, and when you replace the sidewalk, it needs to meet Americans with Disability Act grades, and so to bring those up to grades, we have to regrade the road, and before you know it, we end up having to redo everything. So we're really trying to stick to our signals and lighting, but we can't. So we've expanded the project to include streetscape elements to be consistent with the downtown comprehensive plan. And the project is funded by MOA road bonds and is managed by the Municipality of Anchorage Project Management and Engineering. Here's a map demonstrating the project limits. It goes from E Street to A Street. Last year, the segment from A Street to Cordova was reconstructed, and so now we're just working our way down 4th Avenue. Specific we've done a bunch of outreach with the project, as staff mentioned. We've worked with Downtown Partnership quite a bit. Greater Anchorage Inc., they are the folks behind For Rendezvous, so we've worked on some of the Mushing District details. We've been to Planning and Zoning twice. Now we're talking to y'all at Urban Design Commission, Downtown Community Council, Anchorage Transportation Fair, and we've also done business outreach to the neighboring businesses to help come up with designs that work well for their businesses, but also that will hopefully minimize construction impacts as well. Planned improvements include replacing the signals and lighting systems, following the Downtown Comprehensive Plan. We'll have street lights and traffic signal poles that have a standard galvanized steel finish, but the pedestrian poles will either be the pigeon blue, as they call it, or the green, depending on where they're at. And I'll show you a picture here in a moment of those. We're replacing the sidewalks to meet ADA requirements. We are replacing and putting in new street trees on the west end of the project, and on the east end of the project, we are expanding the sidewalk to meet municipal code. We're doing that by narrowing the lane widths in that segment. They were excessively wide, so the overall functionality of the road is the same. We're just better allocating the space. And then, of course, we'll repave the road since we're tearing it all up. We are incorporating lessons we've learned both from the first phase, the Ada Cordova segment, and from the condition assessment that we did for all of downtown. For example, we're going to raise the light pole foundations about 6 inches above grade to help keep the electrical components and the anchor bolts away from the corrosive effects of the ice melt and flower basket fertilizer runoff. And we've come up with a number of details and requirements for the contractor so that we can minimize impacts on the adjacent businesses. The E Street to C Street segment, we're thinking will look something like we've got shown here, where we've got the green pedestrian poles with the acorn-like shaped fixtures on top. This is exactly what was called for in the downtown comprehensive plan and the core streets master plan. So we're trying to be consistent with all of the planning documents. And then the eastern segment from C Street to A Street, we're looking at a blue fixture with more of a round cylinder top hat type of a fixture, which is again consistent with the downtown comprehensive plan. And now I'd like to have Peter Briggs with Corvus, the landscape architect, talk more about the streetscape features, please.
Good evening. My name is Peter Briggs, B-R-I-G-G-S. The staff report provided a full briefing on the materials we provided within our packet, as Will said. There are two key points from an urban design perspective that I'd like to share is that this project's investment in tree planter design and providing soil volumes will help to ensure that each street tree receives the resources it needs to be long-term green infrastructure. I think that's a key aspect of what we're trying to do here. As previous projects downtown have had a poor longevity for street trees, so this one we hope will be different based on lessons learned at various places downtown. And then secondly, there's an enhanced planting and paving area at the B Street intersection. That's going to be where the 1% for art RFP goes out for placing art in that location. That's an update to what you have for the staff packet. In general, while we have some project changes since the 65% set that you have, the final plans are consistent with what you have in front of you. And to keep things brief, what I'd say is that depending on what questions might arise, I have exhibits available that I can share via screen share. Otherwise, unless Will would have anything to add to what I just said, we'd reserve the rest of our time.
Thank you, Peter.
You have 4 minutes and
Madam
23 seconds remaining.
We have nothing left to say, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you.
Are there any questions of the petitioner? So, Melissa has a question. How do I just think away?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. This question is for the landscape architect. This is Commissioner Morse. Reading the plans from L101 through L103, the sidewalk types A and B, it's hard to graphically differentiate, and so I'm looking for a little direction. Are the circles with the plus signs in them the locations of the planters?
What I would draw your attention to would be, and I'm looking at a different set for right now. The basic difference between sidewalk type A is the full 17-foot plus width sidewalk that exists between E Street and C Street. So that's in front of all the businesses and then in front of Sunshine Plaza and 4th Avenue Marketplace. That is the area where we have the planters located within it. And then sidewalk type B is the narrower, closer to the 12-foot width that extends from C Street to A Street that does not have planters in it. The darker symbols are the pedestrian light poles. And the general design is set up that light poles and planters are aligned with either the back or the front of cars. The parallel parking spaces along the streets are typically 23 feet long. So as a result, light poles are typically 46 feet apart, and the planters are 46 feet apart. Does that answer your question?
It sure does. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the petitioner? Are there any other questions for the staff? If not, may we have a motion?
There it is.
It has been moved by Commissioner Morse, and Commissioner Morse, would you please state your motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to approve Case 2021-0049, the context-sensitive solutions plans in hand review of 4th Avenue Street from A Street to E Street.
Thank you. And it looks like we have a second from Barbara. Commissioner Cash. Commissioner Morse, would you please speak to your motion?
I would. I also want to mention that the approval comes with the one department recommendation of the approval being based on the condition of verifying with traffic engineering the design of barrier support locations that may be used safely for events listed in the packet. I would also like to list some findings. I find that this, do we vote before findings? No. Findings now? It's been a while. So the project appears to meet Title 21-3190B5C and all 7 conditions listed therein. It also appears to meet the 2040 land use plan as well as the Anchorage Downtown Comprehensive Plan, and I give additional credit to the design team for a resilient design that should minimize maintenance and expense to the city of Anchorage going forth.
Thank you, Commissioner Morse. Commissioner Cash, would you like to speak to your second?
Yes, thank you. I would also like to compliment the design team, and I look forward to these improvements being made, and I appreciate that you're the city's trying to take advantage of our slower season this summer downtown. So that's the only good thing, is helping the construction along. So thank you on both of those counts.
Thank you, Commissioner Cash. Are there any other commissioners wishing to speak to the motion or add findings? Do I restate this? I can ask what's the... Okay, thank you. We'll now proceed to a vote.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Cash?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Ms. Morse?
Yes.
Ms. Gordy?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
That motion has passed. Is someone getting? It will be just a moment while we bring back Chair Rem.
Okay, I'm back in here. So moving on to public hearings, I will now read the procedure by which the public may speak to the Urban Design Commission. Number 1, after the staff presentation is completed on all public hearing items, the chair will ask for public testimony on the issue. Number 2, persons who wish to testify will follow the time limits established in the Urban Design Commission Rules of Procedure. 2A, petitioners, including all of his or her representatives, have 10 minutes. Rebuttal by the petitioner may be allowed when time has been reserved. 2B, representatives of groups, including community councils, PTAs, etc., have 5 minutes. And 2C, individuals have 3 minutes. Item 3, when your testimony is complete, you may be asked questions by the commission. You may only testify once on any issue unless questioned by the commission. Number 4, an individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Urban Design Commission takes except commission recommendations to the Assembly which are not appealable. Appeals must be filed with the clerk's office within 20 days after approval by the Urban Design Commission of the resolution, which is the commission's final decision. A fee for the appeal is required at the time of filing. Okay, we just received a note from Commissioner Clark that he's having a hard time hearing, so if everyone could just make sure they're close to their mics when speaking. Okay, the first case we have this evening on the public hearings is case 2021-0023. Petitioner is Troutner Services. The request is for a design variance from AMC 21.10.050F.1 to allow natural resource extraction in the CE R10 low-density residential alpine slope district in areas where the slope is greater than 10%. This case has been postponed from March 10th and April 14th. May we have the staff's presentation?
Yes, this is Francis McLaughlin presenting on behalf of the Planning Department. I'd first like to check with Chair Ream to see if my sound is okay. Chair Ream?
Sorry, I was just saying that I'm having a hard time because of the echo. It's a little loud, but I think it'll be fine. I think it's just me.
Thank you, Chair. There were, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make a point of information, which is that there are 7 commissioners present, and it takes 5 positive votes to pass a motion. It'll take 5 positive votes to approve the variance. That's because the fully constituted board is 9 commissioners, and it takes a majority of the fully constituted board of 9. That's 5 positive votes. Troutner Incorporated is requesting a variance to allow natural resource extraction on a site that has slopes greater than 10% in the CE R10 district. The project limits are 5 parcels next to Rock Alaska Quarry, and the slopes vary from 10% to over 40%. The immediate goal of the petitioner is to complete a driveway from the existing natural resource extraction operation onto this site to reach the southern end of the Rock Alaska Quarry and continue the existing natural resource extraction operation. Title 21 does not place a slope limit for natural resource extraction in the Anchorage Bowl or along the Turnagain Arm, including Gerdwood. Neither did the Chugiak Eagle River code prior to 2013. But since the adoption of Chapter 10, this is the only district, the CER 10 is the only district where this applies a prohibition on natural resource extraction based on the slope of the land. It is notable that the Rock Alaska Quarry and 2 other adjacent quarries, Moose Horn Quarry and Skookum Quarry, all have slopes greater than 10%. 90 public hearing notices were mailed by the Planning Department to notice this meeting, and public comments were received, as well as comments from reviewing agencies and the Chugiak Eagle River street maintenance. Also, community council comments were received from the Birchwood Community Council, where this is located. On to the approval criteria. Approval criteria A is met The intent of the slope limitation on natural resource extraction in the CER 10 district is to prevent mass wasting, that's landslides and mudslides. The variance alone will not grant approval for natural resource extraction. It will only allow the petitioner to apply for a public hearing conditional use permit with the Planning and Zoning Commission at a later date. That application process will require the petitioner to show that mass wasting will not occur. The Planning and Zoning Commission must find that the following 9 approval criteria are met for a conditional use. That's consistency with the comprehensive plan, consistency with the purpose and the intent of the zoning district, including any district-specific standards, consistency with any applicable use-specific standards, that the site size, dimension, shape, location, and topography are adequate for the needs of the proposed use and any mitigation needed to address potential impacts, that the use will not alter the character of the surrounding area, that it will be compatible with other uses allowed on adjacent properties, any significant adverse impacts anticipated result from the use will be mitigated, the proposed use is appropriately located with respect to transportation systems and appropriately located with respect to other services like police, fire, water supply, stormwater disposal. Approval criteria B is met. The 2006 Chuyak Eagle River Comprehensive Plan update does not describe the use of land for natural resource extraction or the CER 10 limit on slopes greater than 10%. The plan was adopted 7 years before the zoning code was changed to create a Chapter 10 for Chuyak Eagle River. The land use plan map identifies the petition site as residential, less than one dwelling unit per acre, which is a designation denoting large lot residential development in a rural environment. The environmentally sensitive map symbol is applied to some of the land in the petition site. This map symbol is an informational overlay, not a land use designation. The plan supports the preservation of natural vegetation in steep slope areas as a strategy to prevent soil erosion and maintain drainage systems. Approval criteria C is met. The granting the variance provides flexibility for the potential to have natural resource extraction with an approved conditional use by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Approval criteria D is met. The standard assumes the violation will not be injurious to the neighborhood or detrimental to the public welfare if the variance is granted. Approval criteria E is met. The granting of the variance does not entitle the petitioner to expand the existing natural resource extraction operation. It would only allow the petitioner to apply for a conditional use which has its own requirements and public hearing process. The forthcoming conditional use application will need to convince the Planning and Zoning Commission that all the approval criteria are met, including addressing any potential impacts on neighboring properties. Approval criteria F is met. The variance is not related to ADA accessibility or reasonable accommodation. Approval criteria G is met. There are no health or safety issues that will be caused by approvals of this variance. The owner is seeking the ability to apply for a conditional use permit. Approval criteria H is met. A variance is not related to signs. The department is recommending approval of the variance subject to conditions of approval 1 through 4 on page 6 of your packet. The applicant has submitted a written request to reduce the variance area to only the land north of the creek. The planning department has no objection to this change since it is a substantial reduction in the amount of variance requested. Given the smaller footprint of the variance, the department recommends replacing condition of approval number 4 with the following. Number 4, this variance is limited to conditional uses for natural resource extraction approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission before May 26, 2026. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Commissioner Morse?
Thank you, Chair. My question for staff is, there seemed to be an unusual amount of last-minute communication in regards to this case, especially since it's been on the books for months. I am concerned that maybe the entire commission will be able to review all of the last-minute documents we've gotten in the last 48 hours, and I would ask a consideration to move to table this case.
Through the chair, Ms. Morris, in regards to last-minute communication, I think that the petitioner will speak to the issues, and if they don't satisfy the questions that you have, then the commission could postpone to a future meeting. However, it's good to deal with cases rather than postpone them, just because it sort of strings it along for quite a long time. I guess I had another point. I think that the petitioner's memo reducing the area of their request for a variance by more than half, it was a reduction rather than an expansion in the area which they're seeking a variance. And I think that maybe they sought this reduction after having multiple presentations with the community council and their public process with the public. So I think that their memo was a result of some of those community council meetings. Thank you.
Ms. Chair, if I may continue my questions. Thank you. I respectfully understand all of that, and thank you for sharing that information for the people on the phone and the people in the chambers today. For a case that has been on the books for months, we did get a memo dated today that changed the variance request. I, as one commissioner, am still willing to hear the case today. However, there's typically a cutoff so that we have time to fully digest the information. So maybe this is a memo to staff that we really need to respect those cutoff dates.
Thank you, Ms. Morris.
Are there any other questions of staff? Seeing none. Is the petitioner here to, would you please come up and state your name? Hi, if you could please state your name and spell for the record, and let me know if you'd like any of your 10 minutes for rebuttal. And I think you might need to turn your mic on. There's a little...
There we go. That works better. My name is Laquita Chmielowski. It's Chmielowski, and I am with Dowell. And I'm here tonight representing Eklutna. We have the CEO, Kyle Foster, here with us as well. And I'd like to reserve 3 minutes of my time for rebuttal. I would also ask that the Commission consider removing or extending the sunset date on condition number 4. It would allow us adequate time during the phased conditional use permit process that we have planned to conduct the needed studies and continue to work with the community. Next slide. Oh, it's...
Okay, your time has started.
Okay, great. So the variance that's being sought tonight is relief from the 10% slope requirement that is related to the CER 10 zoning district that was added as part of new Title 21. Natural resource extraction is allowed in all other zoning districts except PLI in the Eagle River Chugiak area by conditional use permit. And as staff stated, it is also allowed by, there is no other slope restriction within the zoning districts that allow natural resource extraction within Anchorage and Gerdwood. The waiver of the variance would just allow the Eklutna to move forward with a conditional use permit for the project. I'm not sure what's going on with the...
We've paused your time. Are you just trying to share something on the, okay.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that. You can advance to the next slide, please. I'm going to keep going. So although not required by the variance process, Eklutna felt it was very important to work with the community to explain their plans and the variance process. We attended 7 community council meetings starting in 2019. And during that, the input that we received over the course of that time is what led to the reduction in the variance request by 56%. The reduced area started to address the main concerns that we heard from the community as far as proximity to residential development along Laughlin, groundwater and watershed areas, views, and other concerns within the area. So, as we mentioned before, Eklutna owns a large portion of property in this area, a majority of it zoned CER10. You can see my graphic. We have a graphic that shows the area that shows the reduced variance request, and then the surrounding zoning districts are a mix of residential, business, and industrial. So a little bit about the history. Natural resource extraction began in this area in the 1950s with the first natural resource permit issued in 1979. In 1978, Eklutna acquired the CER10 properties as part of ANSCA. And in 2012 is when the original language for new Title 21 was adopted. The code restriction was not part of that language and was later added as part of an 152 updates to new Title 21, and then the Title 21 was later fully adopted in 2014. So as I mentioned, we have a conceptual phasing plan. We're proposing to phase the conditional use permit process over 3 phases to continue the quarry's life for another 50 years, which was the original plan when the Skookum and Rock Alaska quarries were rezoned back in the 80s for natural resource extraction in this area. An approval of the variance request only allows Eklutna to move forward with the CUP for each phase of the project, and it does not change the characteristics of the area. Allowing the slope restriction to be waived is also consistent with the adjacent parcels that are already allowed to do natural resource extraction with a conditional use permit. Also, it's important to note that any residential development would also require extensive rock extraction since the slopes are 10 to over 40%, and roadways for subdivisions typically have to be no more than 8%. We've also heard that this is also an important rock source for nearby projects and emergency repairs. And I believe today you received a letter from the Eagle River Maintenance Deputy Director indicating that this area is a source of hard rock material that's superior, and without this source they would need to import material from areas further away, like the Matsu or farther. And there was also a study that was done as part of the Windy Corner project that looked at material sites that could provide material from everything from aggregate to armor rock. And this area was one of the sites that was looked at. The other areas were in the Mat-Su Valley and then Kodiak and Iliamna. It was noted that in the Mat-Su Valley there was limited resources for hard rock material, and Iliamna and the Kodiak quarries were also only accessible by water. So without this material source, material would have to be imported, and it would impact the roadway construction and street maintenance costs. The variance would allow Eklutna to move forward with the CUP process and provide the detailed studies related to soil conditions, watershed noise, and visual impacts, and outline mitigation measures as needed. Eklutna is committed to continue to work with the area neighbors and community council throughout this process. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Hi, through the chair. I think your memo dated in May 14, I think addressed all the resident concerns very well. Thank you for creating that memo. I think well protection, if there's any effects to the watershed and drainage, noise, quarry access, impact to views. And also somewhere I read that there's no impacts in the adjacent properties in this phase, but there's any potential impacts in the next phases to the neighbors?
So those are the things that we look in detail at when we move forward with the conditional use. As part of a conditional use for natural resource extraction.
Excuse me, if you're on the bridge phone, would you mind muting yourself? We're hearing a lot of background noise. If we could have everyone on the bridge line mute their phone until it's time to speak. Sorry.
That's okay. So as part of the conditional use permit package for natural resource, we have to provide a mining plan that outlines how we're going to develop the site, an end use plan, so what it's going to be used for at the very end. We also have to address, if there were any impacts to the watershed and how we might mitigate those. Noise and hours of operation, those are all presented in the CUP package in detail. So it's just a little early in the process to get to that level of detail.
Okay, thank you. It's just, it feels like we're going into something that we don't know what's going to be, and, that's a little concern for the residents, if possible. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, please, if you're on the bridge line, mute your phones, please. Are there any other questions of the petitioner? Okay, seeing none, we will now open, thank you, Laquita. We will now open the hearing to public testimony. We realize there's a lot of folks wanting to testify this evening, or at least I believe there are. We would like to address those that that are here and present, and then we will move to calling the other people that would like to speak. So, that being said, if you would like to testify on this case, please do step forward. You do have 3 minutes if you're an individual.
So something like this.
Looks like we have someone, oh, okay.
18 people that are opposed.
Hi, if you could please state your name and spell it for the record.
Jeffrey Knittle, K-N-I-T-T-L-E.
And you can bring the mic up towards your, there you go.
Hello, I'd like to read a statement from Debbie Osiander, written May 20th, 21, on the background of AMC 2110-050.f.1. She's a former member of the Anchorage Assembly. The Title 21 rewrite process took many years. I was involved in most of it. Almost as soon as the rewrite began, a group of Chugiak Eagle River citizens, the consortium, pressed for separate rules for our area. They petitioned and received state money to create a separate chapter in Title 21 for Chugiak Eagle River. Representatives from each local community council met for years and developed a draft chapter that reflected the top area priorities of our own local comprehensive plan. Most of the consortium's work product was based on consultants and our local testimony. The intent was to use the Anchorage work as a baseline and the separate chapter to clarify and legitimize differences. As the rewrite progressed, there was concern about drainage and erosion problems throughout Anchorage, particularly on the hillside. Local small road service districts were unable to keep up with the drainage problems. There was concern expressed about the impact this might have on private wells and local streams. Some areas near Chugach State Park were already seeing water problems. Housing development was occurring higher on ridge lines in greater density, and forested hillsides were disappearing in places. Consensus developed there should be significant constraints on steep slope development. This was discussed by the consortium and by the Anchorage Assembly Title 21 Committee. A local concern was heard by the consortium about the gravel extraction occurring on slopes along the Old Glen Highway near Loretta French Park. Specifically, residents were upset because blasting and extraction efforts were heard clearly inside their homes. Complaints were made about noise and vibration that would knock objects off the wall, break things, and scare dogs. Residents wanted greater separation and/or prohibition on developments that cause such problems. As a result of this, and the drainage problems widely discussed elsewhere, there was support for tougher steep slope development standards to be included in Chapter 10 of the Municipal Title 21 rewrite. Debbie Osiander, former member, Anchorage Assembly.
Thank you, and I am so sorry. Can you please state your name again for the record? I missed it.
Jeffrey Knittle. Last name is spelled Knittle.
Thank you.
And I live about 300 yards from the proposed open pit mine. Thank you to the committee for hearing me.
Are there any questions of this testifier? No? Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Hi. State your name and spell it for the record.
Yeah, my name is John Light, L-I-G-H-T.
Thank you. And you may begin.
So they're seeking this variance. My biggest, I don't have an objection to the variance, but I just want to be able to have these same rules apply to me. They seek a variance for the road to be built. They already built the road and hauled stuff on that road. They seek a variance so that they can mine this area. They've already mined this area. Eklutna owns Rock, Alaska. They've already mined into the area that has not even been approved. So the other thing that I really don't see in their proposal is what is the end product? How are they going to reclaim this area? What is it going to become in the end? In order to have a permitted area, you have to get a permit and only mine in the permitted area. They've already mined out of the permitted area. They've already built the road without a permit. But how are they going to be compliant with doing it in the future? How are they? Their original proposal was to expand their mine by 10 times as big, 10 times over what Rock, Alaska was. Now they say they're going to do it at 5 times as big. That's a huge, huge area. It's not, I mean, in Rock, Alaska, Skookum, these other quarries have been there since the 50s. And these guys are going to expand it 5 times as much? Well, they did extract quite a bit of rock out of there. So really what I want is if I decide to go over and mine an area that is not permitted, I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to build roads in it. I'm allowed to do these things without any consequences. I think that's a miscarriage of what the zoning was designed to do. So, and there is not an accounting for for the water runoff. If they expand up in there, it is going to affect water. They already buried the creek. The creek has been buried, but they did that even back in the old days. But the creek is buried out there, so. And I've said what I wanted to say, so.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Light? Seeing and hearing none. Thank you very much for your testimony.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Okay, my name is Karen Cromrey, Kromrey.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
may begin.
I have lived on Parksville Drive in Chugiak for the past 6 years. Our neighborhood is located adjacent to and downslope from the proposed project area. I provided 2 comment letters to the municipality expressing my concerns with this variance application. I also submitted a petition on behalf of our neighborhood signed by 410 community members who were opposed to this application. I want to summarize 3 key points. Number 1, the citizens of Chugiak were not allowed adequate time to fully participate in the public process concerning this application. The modified proposal was made public on May 17th, and we had 8 days to get a copy, digest all the changes, new information, get several of our specialists to review and comment on it, and get comments into the municipality in time for this hearing. We were not afforded due process. Number 2, Anchorage Municipal Code 2110-050 F1 was developed to be intentionally restrictive. Debbie Osiander, a former Anchorage Assembly member and chairman, provided background on this code. Her statement was just read to you. This municipal code and specific Chugiak Eagle River zoning information was the outcome of 7 years of hard work on the part of our community councils and residents. This code was developed in part to respond to the issues residents had with ongoing rock extraction along the Old Glen Highway. If this variance is approved, it would be in violation of this municipal code and the reason the code was developed. Number 3, Eklutna has not met the required 8 variance standards in their application. Most of Eklutna's responses simply state that the standard will be addressed during the conditional use permitting process. These standards are required to be met now, not during the conditional use permitting process. If Eklutna does not have enough information and specific plans to address these standards, the variance should not be approved. Additionally, the Urban Design Commission cannot abdicate its responsibilities to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This case tonight, whether to grant a variance, is before this commission. In not answering the variance standards, Eklutna, in essence, is bypassing your regulatory responsibilities. The municipal staff analysis of Eklutna's application didn't consider any of our comments or concerns and is also relying on the conditional use permitting process. The prohibition of natural resource extraction on slopes greater than 10% in this residential zoning district is to prevent much more than mass wasting. There are surface water concerns, groundwater concerns, and disturbance to residential properties. I am respectfully requesting the Urban Design Commission deny this variance application. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Cromrey? Commissioner Clark, did you wish to speak?
Would you please take a moment to mute your phone, because as a commission member, I cannot hear these people testifying with this background noise. Please.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. It doesn't appear there are any questions for you. Thank you very much. Good evening. Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Sure. My name's Tracy Riker, R-I-E-K-E-R. I live on Laughlin Street.
Please speak into the mic. I'm sorry, they're very sensitive.
Sorry. I live on Laughlin Street, and I oppose the request for variance. Variance Standard G in the Muni standard states that a variance must not affect the health or safety of the Muni members. Rock quarry particles have been shown to cause silicosis, pulmonary fibrosis, COPD, lung cancer, leukemia, renal and heart disease, stroke and cognitive disorders, infertility, miscarriages, and low birth weight. The blasting particles can travel miles. All of the affected properties are downwind, and these diseases are worse in the extremes of life, pediatrics and geriatrics. The National Institute for OSHA and Mine Safety states that there is exposure every time the rocks are disturbed, high winds, rain. In mining, the particles are exposed through blasting, slicing, and crushing. Transport and loading of the products includes dust emissions from trucks and during transport, and also releases the particles. Then there's the leaching of materials into the ground and surface water. Arsenic, nitrates, cobalt, lead, and zinc. All of these are contained in excavated rock and leach into the ground and surface water as water is used in the mining and rain that washes over the rocks. Variance Standard E states that a variance must not change the character of the zoning district where the property is located. The rock extraction will destroy the mountainside and leave a wall of exposed rock. Visualize Bird Creek rest area multiplied by 200 and some acres. There'll be a quality of life disturbance by noise, human and nature, disruption of wells, contamination of surface and groundwater, rock and mudslides of the mine surface. The expense to get water from the Glen Highway to my house was a low estimate of $4 million to a high of $8 million, and that was before rising construction costs. And when our wells are disrupted, studies show that a human can live 72 hours without water before severe dehydration and organ failure and death. So it's 72 hours without water, severe dehydration, and organ failure and death. And I say this because I wonder how long we can live without rock. And lastly, I would ask the Urban Design Commission members to consider this as if it were their property, their neighborhood, their water supply, and backyard. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Ms. Riker? Seeing and hearing none, thank you very much for your testimony. Is there anyone else? Hi, please state your name and then spell it for the record.
Michael Floyd, Floyd.
Thank you. You may begin.
I, Michael Floyd, live directly downstream of Eklutna's proposed strip mine. Anchorage Municipal Code 21.10.050.f.1 was written, debated, studied by the combined community councils of Birchwood, Chugach, Eagle River, the Eagle River Valley, South Fork, and the Eklutna community councils. All of them got together and formed this. March 28, 2006, the Anchorage Assembly passed a resolution supporting a separate chapter to Title 21 that addressed land use development specific to Chugach and Eagle River. In short, the citizens of Anchorage have not supported this expansion in 2006 or today. Variance Standard C is inaccurate and has not been met. The standard Rock Alaska is still in operation and capable of supporting jobs and providing rock for anyone's needs. The special DOT rock is available at both neighboring quarries as needed. So there is separate quarries right next to them. And it may cost a couple more pennies to import rock from Skookum, but I don't think that's going to make a big difference in the overall picture. Eklutna is not concerned about the cost of construction for state or muni projects. Their concern is selling more rock for company profits. Eklutna further states that cost is borne by the taxpayer for state and muni projects. This is also inaccurate. The state of Alaska is the only state that does not collect sales tax or levy an individual income tax on any type of personal income. Standard D is not met. Eklutna, Dow, and the Municipal Planning Department in their permits and design variance staff reports state that no roads or mining will occur without a variance and/or a conditional use permit. Please explain to the public why there are now 2 new roads and extensive mining has occurred on all 5 residential lots. All of the surrounding properties will be impacted as the landscape changes from a forest to a strip mine. Properties within a mile will see a devastating decrease in property values of 30%. This loss will be forever as the blight will never be reforested. My final point is surrounding properties will suffer adversely from the loss of well water. Once this valuable resource is lost, it will also be forever. In closing, I ask our council members, how do you value the water at your home?
Good timing. Are there any questions for Mr. Floyd?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hi.
With reading glasses.
State your name and spell it for the record. Sorry. Thanks.
My name is Walt Monaghan, M-O-N-E-G-A-N. My wife, Terry, who's with me back here, we have spent almost the last 26 years living on Laughlin. And this is a place where we have had our children and now our grandchildren. I feel compelled to add some particular points to the written testimony that I have already provided. Mind you, when we did the written testimony, it was prior to the proposal to reduce the amount of area. I can respect the fact that they wanted to go ahead and make a reduction, try to work with the community, but I feel that where they have put the line, where they want to do on that graphic you probably have seen, about 100 to 125 foot setback from the creek. It's already been mentioned a couple of times, so I don't want to really hit on it too much, but if in fact there is a trust issue, if roads are waiting to be approved before they're completed and they're not, then on that 100 to 125 foot setback, I'm still uncomfortable with that. I think everybody's mentioned about the wells, the pollution, either by the blasting materials or by the petroleum products, by the heavy equipment that removes it. But there also is that the real danger that in the blasting actually alters the water table. This particular area is not uniformly filled with water. The lot next to me, for example, has 3 dry wells and is unoccupied. So it being limited and peculiar, I guess another word, for not being universally distributed, what we are in danger of is losing that. So that brings me to my final point. What happens if the worst happens? Who do we go to? Do we go to the Muni? Do we go to Eklutna? Who makes us well again? Brings back our water. So I ask that you do not approve this and kind of follow the Chugach Community Council meetings on that, where we voted twice, one on the original one and one on the modified, not to approve this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Monaghan? Seeing and hearing none, thank you very much. Good evening. If you could please state your name and spell it for the record.
Can I take this?
Hello. Oh, jeez. I'll try and... Hello, my name is Mark Cromrey, Kromrey. My wife and I purchased a home on Parksville Drive in 2016, as you have already heard. I have numerous concerns about this application and have submitted written comments. I have never had sympathy for individuals buying at the end of an airport and then complaining about noise. This is not the case here. The quarry is coming to us. All of us have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in our homes expecting that the zoning laws will protect our investment and quality of life. Buying an industrial site in 2019 in this case does not change the zoning of your adjacent residential parcels. While the rock may be needed for the benefit of all in projects like the Port of Anchorage, we alone will bear the full impact in lower property values, noise, and possible water quality and quantity issues. This planned activity with unlimited duration is well beyond the scope of approval by a variance, which is only for limited relief. Water is very difficult to come by throughout the Chugach Eagle River area. Our well relies on water flowing through seams within the bedrock. We have 2 wells 9 feet apart. One supplies enough water to just barely obtain a COSA. The other is 400 feet deep and essentially dry. Without a muni COSA, you cannot transfer title of your home. Blasting rock upslope in the aquifer refill area could affect the quantity and quality of our water. The buffer suggestion in this application might sound good, but natural features are never uniform and lineal. The creek is what you see and can measure. The basin that holds that creek along that buffer, if it's broken or fractured in any way, the water is going to run to the lowest point, which they're taking one side of a valley down 200 feet. The water is going to flow downhill. It will flow into and join Parks Creek, which right now is on Google Earth equipment parking area.
I think your time is up. Do we want to, can I get him to proceed with his last statement, or?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I do not believe the Title 21 rewrite in our area was an error or an oversight. The consortium took many years, cost hundreds of thousands of dollars of public funds, and was written for this day and this vote. Thank you for the extra time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No, thanks. Good evening. You might want to, if you could please state your name and spell it for the record.
My name is Veronica Knittle, Knittle, and I live at 16100 Parksville Drive in Chugach. I'm here to request that the Urban Design Commission deny the Oklutna variance application. I did participate in our February and May Chugach Community Council meetings and voted against this variance application at those times. I'd like to express my concerns over the variance request submitted by Oklutna to expand their rock quarry to 233 acres of residentially zoned hillside near our home. My husband and I purchased our lot and built our home in 2018 with water supplied from a well. We've enjoyed peaceful days listening to the creek and 20 or more bear or moose sightings in our backyard in this last year as they make their way up and down the hillside. This variance request, if granted, has potential to destroy all of that. Eklutna is requesting to alter the zoning for a steep section of the mountainside to get a path forward to open up the rock quarry that will be visible for miles around. Zoning exists to provide the population with certainty for future community development. We built here in this residential area with faith that the city would stand by their commitments. This is the case that the city would uphold the zoning municipality code that blocks the mineral extraction on slopes steeper than 10%. If this variance is granted, the 233-acre hillside rock quarry will destroy our property values, strip all the vegetation, and there will be regular blasting and chemical runoff. Dusty, noisy, heavy machinery will become the norm. Wild animals will avoid the area, and fractured bedrock or chemicals from blasting have the potential to drain or pollute our wells. The Municipality Code 2110.050 F1 was established to block this kind of activity. This is a safeguard for our community. I ask that the Design Commission to uphold the municipality code as it is written and not grant the Eklutna Corporation's request for the variance. Thank you for allowing me this time.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak? Okay. Okay, I think we have some people that we need to call in for phone testimony.
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please.
Hello, this is Gary.
Hi, is this Gary Martin?
This is Gary Martin.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
I'm representing myself and my wife, Kim Martin.
Alrighty, you will have 3 minutes to provide your testimony. Please state your full name for the record and you can begin.
All right, my name is Gary Martin, and my wife's name is Kim Martin, and we live at 20049 Laughlin Street, Chugiak. Lived here 14 years, and I'm calling to voice my opposition to the variance request by Eklutna. If the variance is accepted, it will only lead to more variance requests by Eklutna and a continuous threat to our residential area and our precious water supply here in Chugiak. Eklutna purchased this property knowing that the variance restrictions were on the land, and that was passed by the Assembly. Now they want to change the rules, and the Planning Department bent under their demands. As a resident, I must follow the law. Why not Eklutna? We as residents must obey the law when it comes to land use. However, Eklutna has already broken the law and has a road system in place on the property that they need to file a permit for it, but they hadn't. The existing variance of not allowing mining over 10% grade was put into place to protect property of residents below, wells, and the landscape of Chugiak. This is the purpose of having this in place. This is the law that we've all had to abide by, Eklutna included. The Chugiak Community Council voted no to not support Eklutna's variance request because it threatens our precious water supply. Over 400 signatures have been collected to tell the Planning Commission tonight, no, we do not want this in our area. We do not want an open mining pit in our residential neighborhood of Chugiak. The natural resource extraction activities of road building and rock extraction will completely change the character of the parcels which are currently in the CER 10 residential zoning district. The zoning is intended to provide a degree of certainty that is important for long-term investment and neighborhood cohesion and stability. This open mine pit will not provide neighborhood cohesion and stability. The proposed alternative results in the benefits of the community that are equivalent to or better than the compliance with the subject standard, according to the planning department. They said that that standard was met, and no, it is not. The result will be to lower our property values and a real danger to the water wells we depend on. This does not benefit the Chugiak community, only the pockets of the Klutna Corporation. The purpose of the CER 10 is to be restrictive, so it does eliminate natural resource extraction in a residential area. 40 years ago, this may have been an area for an open pit mine, but not in 2021. This is now a residential area in the community of Anchorage. It is no different than if this was applied to the hillside in South Anchorage. Nobody would even dare to try this proposal, removing rock from an area like Flat Top. Please respect our property and our rights as residents. According to the Planning Department, the variance, if granted, will not adversely affect the use of the adjacent property. Planning Department says that was met. They assume that this will not be detrimental to the public welfare, but it will be when blasting rock wells in the area make our wells run dry and pollution occurs. Our wells depend on not having anything disrupt their flow.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Your time is up, but I just wanted to let you know you can finish that sentence, but your time is up.
All right. The Assembly passed this law for a reason, to protect residents from an open mine pit. Follow the law just like we all have to do. Please vote to turn down this variance and protect our water, and listen to the 400 people who live in Chugiak who have said no to this variance request. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thanks for your call.
Hello? Is this Jerry Leonhard?
This is Jerry Leonard.
Thank you. This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
Yeah, it kind of caught me off guard here. I applied for the last time, but yeah, I'd be just as an individual, as a homeowner in this area.
Alrighty, you will have 3 minutes to provide your testimony. Please state your full name for the record, and you can begin.
Okay, my name's Jerry Leonard. I live at 20108 K-Bob Circle. And I just wanted to support the rest of the people in the neighborhood here that to not be changing our status in the area, and with all the other the blasting and everything that would come in with this new process they were talking about. And one of the things I noticed that earlier this spring, they did the blasting along the Seward Highway just out of Anchorage, and they did that early so they didn't disturb the beluga whales. And I got to thinking, don't the people of this community should have the same rights as the belugas? And that was just my my thought on it, not to overlook the people and the needs of the people who've been living here for so many years. So that's my statement.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks for your call.
Okay, thank you.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. Your call has been forwarded to a...
Hello? Hi, is this Lily Billman?
Yes, it is.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
Just me.
Alrighty, you will have 3 minutes to provide your
3 minutes.
testimony. Please state your full name for the record and you can begin.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lily Billman, B as in boy, B-I-L-L-M-A-N. Well, thank you for allowing me to testify today. And our family have lived on Pleasant View for the last 35 years, so we're quite aware of what's going on here now. And our home is actually located behind a proposed area in the variance applied by Clutna. And at the very front, I was just going to say it, I respectfully request that the UDC Design Commission, deny Clutna's variance request. Because I have listened already to all the in-person testimonies and a couple of the phone messages, and I totally 100% support them. Let me see. Another issue that was brought, I have not heard yet, it was in the February 2021 Community Council. That one in May, we all both voted against it, and very few was in favor, obviously. Let me see, another different thing was, and on April 17, 2021, the Community Council met with Dow Engineering, and they had agreed at that meeting to give the neighborhood resident a copy of the modified variance for us to review because we never saw it. And so, but we never got the modified variance until May 17th, which is like 3 days before our May 20th Church Council, and then maybe 7 days to review before this meeting today. So I just don't see where the Clutna's good neighbor policy is anywhere. There's other numerous concerns that other people have voiced, such as things water, and let me see the other one. Number 2 concern is your property value, which everybody has mentioned already, and it's just that we have to, if this variance is ever approved, we have to listen to this excavation, extraction, and all this constant noise for the next 20, 30 years, and so who want to buy a house here? I don't think you guys want to live here. Number 3 is our health issue, and someone mentioned that also, but because of the minuscule rock particles we're exposed to some of that already at the 3 other quarries that's already down the road for the next 30 years. There is no compensation for my family's health. Nobody's going to be able to ever pay for that at all. I don't care what it is. And of course, the last concern is the loss of the 233 acres to wildlife. There are bears, moose, foxes, lynx, and even eagles that live around here. So they'll lose their pathway to the Truett State Park. And like someone said, also loss of vegetation and trees can, of course, increase our warming effect, which we somewhat know, and also reducing our O2 supplies. And so, in conclusion, I just ask respectfully that the UCD do deny the Clutna's variance request. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of this? Thank you for your testimony.
Hello?
Is this Jacqueline Holmquist?
Who is this, please?
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023.
Uh-huh.
Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
Oh, individual.
All right, you will have 3 minutes to provide your testimony. Please state your full name for the record, and you can begin.
I didn't know you were calling. Okay. I don't think I can. I didn't know that was happening today. So I'm not ready to testify. I don't have my stuff with me. Sorry.
Are you sure you don't want to say anything? Are you still there? It sounds like she
hung up.
Submitted to testify in March, and we carried her call over to this meeting because the meeting was postponed.
Hello?
Hi, is this Linda Williams?
Yes, this is she.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
As an individual.
You will have 3 minutes to provide your testimony. Please state your full name for the record and you can begin.
Okay. My name is Linda Williams. I've lived on Pleasant View Drive ever since my husband designed and built our house here 35 years ago. Please do not approve this variance request. Most of what I would say has already been said, maybe repeatedly, but I want to reinforce those things without going into a lot of detail. The bears, the moose, the eagles, the owls, all of the wildlife would be affected, the water, the view shed, at least that's what my husband calls it, from our house would be completely changed. I appreciate the effort Dowell has made to address our concerns, but I am still convinced that this mining project would change our neighborhood and our quality of life so catastrophically that it would never be returned to its natural state during our lifetimes. So if you're thinking of approving this petition for a variance, please reconsider. Thanks for hearing us.
Thank you. I think she hung up.
Hello, this is Marty.
Is this Marty Ryan?
Yes.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
As an individual, but I sent in my email comments yesterday because I'm going out of town tonight and I'm not prepared right now.
So you wish not to testify at this time, is that correct?
Yeah, I sent in my comments yesterday in an email before 1 o'clock.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the voicemail of 9.
Was that Megan Jones? Thank you.
Yes, it was. We'll try her again later, unless we're not supposed to.
My apologies. Can we take, did you just hit send on that call?
I did, sorry.
Never mind.
Sorry, Chair.
Your call has been forwarded.
Okay, before we make that next call, can we take a 5-minute recess, please? Thank you. I think we're all back here. We can resume the meeting. Thank you.
I don't like that one. Sorry, Madam Chair, it doesn't like the long distance numbers. Lori, is there a way to call a long distance number? I did 9-1. I didn't like it.
What are you doing?
Long distance number.
Go ahead.
I tried. Oh.
Hello?
Hi, is this Jay Harkey?
Yes.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
Just an individual.
You will have 3 minutes to provide your testimony. Please state your full name for the record and you can begin.
My name is Jay Harkey, and I do not want Uklutna open pit mine to go forward because I'm concerned with what it'll do to the watershed and how that's going to affect my house, which is down below that watershed. Beyond that, I'm just concerned with noise, dirt, dust, the pollution that's going to be attracted by the machinery in the area, and what else it's going to entail, and no one can really say what that will be. Although I understand that they believe that everything will be fine, it's hard for me to trust that. So that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the testimony? Seeing and hearing none, thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hi, is this Julian Ortiz?
Yep.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
I am not testifying on anything that I'm aware of.
Hi, this is the chair. Mr. Ortiz, we have a record of you calling or providing an email that you wanted to speak about.
Is this over the Uklutna mine?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I just wanted to put in my testimony. I wanted to, ask that you guys deny their request for variance.
You may speak if you wish to. Is that all you wish to say, or did you have anything else you wanted to add? You do have 3 minutes.
I did have more to add. I was just unprepared. I was not expecting you guys to call. Yeah, basically, I was looking through all this zoning paperwork, Chapter 21.10, and it just seemed to me that the variance that they're trying to get turned over, that variance actually protects our residents. It's the general purpose of the residential districts and the zoning districts established. And we understood it as the general purpose was, to conserve residential lands for housing, to protect the scale, character, and unique appeal of existing residential neighborhoods, basically just protect our quality of life. And if that zoning regulation that they're trying to get around prevents them from developing that mine, then it's upheld the general purpose of this section.
Thank you. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you're done with your testimony?
I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Welcome to the voicemail of 9.
To clarify, was that Mr. Brown?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Hello?
Hi, is this Paul Light?
Yes.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
Individual.
You will have 3 minutes to provide your testimony. Please state your full name for the record and you can begin.
Okay, my name's Paul Light. The issues that I kind of listed out on the paperwork there, but in regards to Eklutna's request for a variance, my issue is a lot of that work has already been done, so clearly the need for a variance was totally ignored prior to now. And the representative pictures that's been provided to the public are inaccurate compared to what the actual site looks like now. Not to mention that the adjoining lots to the permitted location have already been cleared, mined on, and quite a few other illegal activities that's been going on over there for at least the past year or year and a half that I know of. So if they're allowed or granted the variance, what else outside of what they've proposed are they going to do without the knowledge of anybody else? And my question to the municipality of Anchorage is, has any enforcement been brought to Eklutna, or any of the code violations or conditional use violations? Has any fines or anything else been enforced on Eklutna, or has the muni turned a blind eye to that up until this point? So I think there should be quite a bit of consideration before granting the variance into what has already been done without any permitting or regard to the code or the law or anything else. So that's about all I have to say.
Thank you very much. And thanks
Yep.
for your call.
Bye.
Hello? Hello, is this Stephen Ellis?
It is.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023 regarding the Eklutna variance. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
I didn't call to testify.
You signed up to testify?
I don't recall doing that.
Would you still like to testify?
No, I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hello, is this Marianne Falcone?
Yes, it is.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0023 regarding the Eklutna variance. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
I'm representing myself and 3 others.
All right, so you'll have 3 minutes to provide your testimony. Please state your full name for the record and you can begin.
Name is Marianne Falcone, F as in Foxtrot, A-L-C-O-N-E. The 4 of us that I am representing, Elwood J. Dodd and Peggy Dodd, myself and John Mark Webb, we all live downslope from the proposed expansion. My family and I have been in this neighborhood since 1976, 45 years. I have numerous objections to the proposed expansion by Eklutna. There were so many water problems with the original gravel pit that the Anchorage Assembly had a rewrite on Title 21 from 2006 to 2013 to address the exact issues that Eklutna now again wants a variance for. Under the AMC 21.1.051F1, no mineral extraction can be done at 10 degree slope or more. What has fundamentally changed that a variance at this time should be issued to Eklutna? This municipal code was written exclusively for Eagle River Chugiak only 8 years ago. This particular 233 acres, which they just downsized, but the slope is still the same of 10 to 45 degrees of slope. And that is way outside of the parameters. The Assembly worked 7 years in making this ruling and writing it into the municipal code. This project should be moot, period. The Eklutna state that they can't get this type of rock anywhere else in the Anchorage area. I don't believe that. I think they should prove it. They haven't had a geologist testing all the rock material around this municipality. The state, there will be a 9% deviation of watershed. I would like to see the testing that they have done that comes up with this number. Who did the testing? I don't believe that one either. Where are the environmental impact studies? The slide the representative of Eklutna showed during the Chugiak Community Council meeting last week showed what looked like almost 70 waterways running horizontally throughout the area they wish to dynamite. What contingency plan is in place? There is a lake above this area as well. How are they planning to ensure it doesn't flow through the rock and flood the lower elevations? I know there are 2 creeks and an artesian well between Klondike and Laughlin Street too. What are the containment plans? We have numerous bears, black and brown, eagles, owls, weasels, fox, moose, and that all live in these woods. I don't like the idea that their habitat is going to be destroyed. Not mentioning the blight on the mountain of clear cutting all that acreage. It's not what I or others want for our neighborhood. We as a community are worried we'll lose our water, have less water, or our water will be contaminated. There are at least half a dozen homes up Laughlin that don't have water year-round as it is.
Thank you,
We
Ms.
are not-
Falcone. Your time is up. My apologies. Are there any questions of Ms. Falcone? No questions. My apologies. You have 3 minutes, so thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
That is all the phone testimony, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that came in late? If anybody came and wanted to testify, I'm not sure. I just want to make sure. Okay. Would the petitioner like to use their remaining time for a rebuttal? You have 3 minutes. 4 o'clock. I'm so sorry. You do have extra time.
Great, thank you. Yes, we would.
Hold on, logistics, you have 4 1/4, so just give us a second.
Sure. I'll take all the time I can get.
All right. Go ahead. You're good.
Thank you. I'm going to invite Kyle Foster, who's the CEO with the Klutna, to just say a few words before I address some of the items that were brought up tonight.
Just please restate your name and then spell it for the record.
Yeah. My name is Kyle Foster, last name Foster. I represent Klutna Inc. as their CEO, and you all have a very difficult job, I see. But I'd just like to say Klutna, we really try to be a friendly neighbor. We put thousands of acres into conservation easements. We provide parking for the police station out there. They park all their police cars. We've won awards for our rock quarries for doing them well in the Birchwood area. The Denina people they care about the land. They want to revitalize the salmon streams back to a Klutna river and bring salmon back up there. And I'm working hard with them to do that. And we care about the neighbors, and we thank everyone for coming out and sharing with us. We've been to the community council 5 times and to share our points. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to start by addressing some of the comments about the roadway construction on the R10 properties. So after Klutna acquired Rock Alaska, they did meet with the municipality to look at constructing access roads to more safely and efficiently reach the southern end of the Rock Alaska quarry. At that time, and through that process, they felt that they had the appropriate approvals to move forward. So they did start construction on the access road. No material was mined for removal from the site. It was used to start the construction of those access roads and to create the berms that are required by OSHA. As that process started, the municipality determined that a conditional use permit would be required, and at that time, Klutna ceased all construction activities, including removing explosives from a shot that they were getting ready to do for the road. We started the CUP process in 2019, and we went to the community council at that time, and they did have their meeting notes where they passed a resolution of support for those roadways. As we went through that process is when we discovered the slope restriction in the R10 properties and met with the municipality to discuss that. So it wasn't something that was readily known by anyone until we discovered it, and that's what brought us to this variance process. Many people have talked about the code amendments that happened to put this slope restriction on the R10 properties. I think it's really important to understand that based on the research that we did of the files related to the code or the adoption of new Title 21, the original language was adopted in 2012, and then there was an amendment a year later which had 152 items, and this was item 141, and have copies if you guys would like to see that. It's unclear based on the research that we've done with the municipality how those code or why that code edit came about and what was the history and how it was noticed. So I can't answer those questions. It does seem that it might be related to gravel extraction because that would be a concern on steeper slopes. So I just ask that you consider that the CUP, granting of the variance only allows us to move forward with the CUP process, which is the appropriate process to answer all the concerns that we heard tonight. As I mentioned before, the natural resource extraction is allowed on the adjacent properties with a conditional use permit. So for example, the R7 zone properties on Laughlin could go in tomorrow and apply for a conditional use permit and also have slopes that exceed 10%. So we are just asking for the same rights that our neighbors have. It won't change the characteristics. It's not going to change anything from what you see today. It just allows us to take that next step. And the CUP process is a process that we should trust in to address these concerns. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Okay, it looks like we do have some questions. Commissioner Morse?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Laquita. You did address some of the questions I had written down from today's testimony. The one that you mentioned right at the beginning of your original testimony, but did not elaborate on, was the disagreement with the 2026 timeline for using the variance.
Yeah, so because our approach would be to come in for a CUP for the different phases, and right now we looked at a conceptual level phasing, and so we would do those activities over 3 phases. And so my concern is that a 5-year time window doesn't allow us enough time to do the studies that are needed and to address the concerns that you heard tonight.
Is there an ideal solution where us as a board could not leave something completely open-ended and you as an entity would have the right amount of time to operate?
Yeah, so as part of that phasing program, we outlined that phases 1 and 2 would be completed within approximately the next 15 to 20 years. So I think that would be in a more appropriate timeline to sunset this variance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cash?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the petitioner's representative, thank you. I wanted to ask a question. I am not familiar with developments of this type, natural resource extraction developments, and compatibility with any residential zoning districts. Are there examples that you can share that would help me understand how these have gone?
Sure. So the existing Rock, Alaska, and Skookum Quarry have residential zoning districts around them that were, so they're allowed in all the zoning districts except for the PLI. So if you go through the CUP process and show that you can be consistent with the surrounding uses and not have an impact, then you can do natural resource extraction. In this area, natural resource extraction has been going on near these residential developments for the past, over 40, 50 years. We understand moving forward, we would need to do the studies that are needed to ensure that any expansion beyond what's there today would also be compatible with the future uses.
Thank you. Question. Oh, my mic. Okay. Part of my question that I didn't include and should have was having to do with this greater than 10% slope factor. Are there any that you're aware of similar in that regard?
You mean as far as natural resource extraction occurring on slopes greater than 10%?
In a residential zoning area such as this?
I'm not necessarily aware of any other than it is allowed in the other zoning district. There's a residential R7 next to this one where it would be allowed by CUP.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Morris, did you wish to speak?
I did, thank you, Madam Chair. My question I was holding for staff, but since Laquita, Ms. Chmielewski brought it up again, I thought I may ask her. The reference to PLI lands, I'm not finding that in my packet. Could you extrapolate a little bit more on why you reference that land as PLI?
I guess I'm not exactly sure what you're...
When I see the zoning is not PLI, but you mention it in reference to some sort of requirements.
Oh, so what the reference was to, that in the Chugiak-Eagle River zoning districts, natural resource extraction is allowed by conditional use permit in all zoning districts except for PLI.
When I read the zoning, I don't see this as PLI. Am I missing?
No, it's not.
Okay.
So I guess the point I was making is that it's allowed everywhere else, and only the R10 is the one that has a slope restriction.
Okay, I would just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions for the petitioner at this time. Thank you. Okay. Are there any other questions? Seeing none. We will close the public hearing. May we have a motion? We have a motion on the floor, or a motion from Commissioner Morse. Do we have a second? First, let's go ahead and state your motion, I guess, if you would like, Commissioner Morse.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve case 2021-0023, the request for variance from AMC 21.10.050F.1 to allow natural resource extraction on slopes greater than 10% in the CER10 district. With the staff amendment, or staff recommendation 1, 2, 3, and 4, a slight amendment to 4, adding a sunset date of May 2036. Would you like me to read number 4?
I was making sure that this number 4 was just an addition of a date.
It was in the staff memo that we had digitally.
Right.
Okay.
No, I mean, I have the written write-up. I thought it was a little different. Okay. I think we're good. Okay, do we have a second? Can we have a second?
Just clarification, what I'm seeing on the page is not what I stated. 526-2036 was my amendment to the recommendation.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I thought you were adding their change. So do we have to add the change then amend? She's trying to change to 2036. Okay, so the motion on the floor is move to approve this case 2021-0023 with slight modification to the amended department recommendation to extend the sunset date to May 26, 2036. Still looking for that second. I have
I'll
a second
second the
by
motion.
Commissioner McKee. Thank you, you two were very close. Commissioner McKee, would you please speak, or do you care to speak to your second?
Yes, please.
Or would you prefer to wait for the?
Yeah.
Okay. So Commissioner Morse, please speak to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bear with me with these findings. I've been jotting them down all evening. Whereas Anchorage and Alaska are all about balance of resource management, extraction, and preservation, I find this application for a variance to allow the next step toward a public hearing for a conditional use permit following the proper channels. Compliments to the petitioner and the Eklutna people for compromising in the spirit of being a good neighbor in the watershed. I appreciate the amendment that we received today. The documents, I would like to mention the documents provided in today's hearing are typical for a variance request. I think we're at the right level for the review that we're having. I look forward to seeing the further development. There is still a chance for the public to comment at the variant or at the conditional use permit, and I expect a healthy discussion once more information is available. I do find that all conditions are met for granting a variance. And to mention the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, I think that was very underplayed today. These lands belonged to the Eklutna people and were rightfully regranted to them in 1971, and I think you've been a great neighbor.
Thank you, Commissioner Morse. Now, Commissioner McKee, would you care to speak to your second?
Yes, please. I'd also like to thank Eklutna for being a good neighbor and placing lands into conservation and the efforts that you've made to restore Eklutna River and rehabilitate salmon habitat. However, with regards to staff's findings, I do not necessarily agree that all of the standards have been met to grant a variance in this particular case. In particular, I don't feel that if the variance is granted, it does not potentially adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare of the people who live in this area in the municipality. Particularly, it says in item A and D that the standard assumes the violation will not be injurious to the neighborhood or detrimental to the public welfare if the variance is granted. I don't necessarily think that we've clearly demonstrated that. I think that we have a duty here as the commission to uphold a variance until these things can be demonstrated and not necessarily transfer that burden onto the conditional use permit. I find that the slopes here are not just slightly over 10%. The majority of them are within 25 to 40%, which is significantly steep. I think it's been clearly demonstrated in other areas where slopes have been deforested that they become unstable. You see it in California quite frequently where there's landslides, mudslides. So I don't necessarily, I think that there's a reason for maintaining a slope stability. I think that there's another statement in here in staff findings that says, and I'm sorry, I also have lots of notes in here that I'm kind of trying to flip through, that that any significant adverse impacts anticipated to result from the use will be mitigated or offset to the maximum extent feasible. I think that that leaves residents feeling uncertain of what their recourse or compensation will be when the possibility that they lose access to their wells. If that were to happen, I think, the cost to connect to the piped storm drain system or the piped water system from Eklutna would be extensive.
Edith, make sure you're closer to your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can hear you, but I'm not sure everybody can.
Do I need to repeat
No.
what I said? Okay. But I do appreciate that Eklutna is reaching out to the community, and has reduced the size of the request of their variance. I just feel that additional studies need to be done to demonstrate that the community's concerns regarding, noise, visual impacts, air quality, water quality, access to water have been addressed before we grant a variance on slopes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion by other commissioners on this? Okay, and I do have one comment just to make, and that is to remember that this is not allowing this to happen. This is a very restrictive variance for slope stability that's not in any other area, and I think the petitioner made a good point that a neighbor of R7 could in fact develop a rock quarry directly adjacent. I also know that there's going to be a rigorous process that they will need to go through in order to get that conditional use permit, and that's where those studies belong. Tonight, our purview is really just to make sure that we do or don't want to oppose this 10% grade maximum variance. So that's all I had to say. If there are no other findings, or if there's no one else that wishes to speak. Oh, Mr. McLaughlin, did you want to say something? I'm so sorry, I didn't see your hand.
No, that's fine. Yes, this is Francis McLaughlin for staff. It sounded like the second commissioner was referencing the conditional use standards and not the variance standards. So I just wanted to point that out as a point of information, that the approval criteria for the variances are in bold, A through H, and under approval criteria A, the department listed the approval criteria 1 through 7 as informational, but those aren't the approval criteria for the Urban Design Commission in relation to a variance. Those are the conditional use approval criteria for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and obviously the Urban Design Commission doesn't have authority over a conditional use. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, if there's no further discussion, then may we please have a vote?
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Cash?
No.
Ms. McKee?
No.
Ms. Morse?
Yes.
Ms. Gordy?
No.
Ms. Sullivan?
No.
Chair Ream?
Yes. Okay, it looks like the motion does not pass. I do appreciate you guys coming this evening and all the hard work you do. And thank you, everyone who came here to testify this evening. It's a late night. We do have a couple more cases here. I just want to go ahead, before we get started here, put on the record that Commissioner Gordy will be recusing herself for the remainder of the meeting.
This is what the guy on conditional use permit.
Okay.
It's 7, but the rest of these are, we don't have that much information because at a variance request, they're not that developed. So they wouldn't do that much work at a variance, they would do that work.
Okay, we'll go ahead and resume on to case 2021 0035, Gerdwood Health Clinic. They are before us with a revised request for design variance for AMC 2109-080 FD2 to allow for reduction in alteration width on east elevation and length on north elevation for the new Gerdwood Clinic. This one was postponed from April. May we have staff's presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chair Rem. This is a variance request to allow for a reduction in alteration width on the east elevation and length north elevation for the new Gerdwood Health Clinic. So just some background, the Gerdwood Health Clinic, the existing one has served the community for 23 years. The current facility is 2,450 square feet. The Gerdwood Health Clinic plans to construct a larger building in phases at the existing location. The first phase would be 6,421 square feet. So the variance request for the design would be for the east facade. The proposed east elevation is 88 feet total. The requirement is to provide 29.3 feet of modulation offset 4 feet from the primary wall, and the variance request is to reduce the offset minimum to 3 feet, so it would be from 4 feet to 3 feet. Along the north facade, the north elevation is not permitted to have a wall longer than 42 feet without alteration in alignment. The variance requested is to allow one wall segment to be 47 feet in length without alteration or modulation, so that would be 5 feet longer than what is allowed by code. None of the reviewing agencies objected to the proposed design variance. No public comments were received. However, the Gerdwood Board of Supervisors, or GBOS, provided a resolution of support for this proposed design variance. In order for the Urban Design Commission to grant approval of the variance, there are 8 approval criteria. I'll just go through these briefly. One is that the proposed alternative achieves the intent of the subject design standard to the same or better degree than the subject standard. This standard is met. For the east elevation, the majority of the facade will be windows that provides visual alteration in lieu of the 1 foot required wall modulation. This alternative achieves the intent of the design standard to ensure complementary scale and size to the surrounding built environment. Along the north elevation, that standard is also met. The proposed elevation includes a variety of textures, windows, and a nearly 10-foot projective covered entryway. These design elements also meet the intent of code to ensure a complementary scale and size. B is that the proposed alternative achieves the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan to the same or better degree than the subject standard. This is met. The Gerdwood area plan designates this parcel as commercial, intended to provide trade and services for residents and visitors. Also, a main goal of the Gerdwood area plan is to perpetuate Gerdwood's small town atmosphere. These variances for both the east and north elevations provide design alternatives that meet the intent of code and of the plan and creates an inviting building compatible with the surrounding community while still maintaining privacy for health clinic visitors. One other goal I want to mention of the Gerdwood area plan is to provide facilities and services to maintain and enhance the quality of community life. I feel in particular that this goal in the comprehensive plan is important for this standard B. C, the proposed alternative results in benefits to the community that are equivalent to or better than compliance with the subject standard. This standard is met, compatible and complementary scale and size consistent with the built environment while maintaining the small mountain town character is provided by these the design alternative offered in the variance. D is that the variance, if granted, will not adversely affect the use of adjacent property. The variance is related to an expansion of the Gerdwood Health Clinic, so the health clinic is already there. The granting of the variance will not adversely affect the use of adjacent property. The Gerdwood Board of Supervisors submitted a resolution of approval, and there's a major site plan review that would also need to demonstrate to the Urban Design Commission that all approval criteria are met. E is that the variance would not change the character of the zoning district. This property is within the GC7, or the Townsite Square Commercial District in Gerdwood. A health clinic is a legal use in that zone subject to a major site plan review. This design variance will not change the character of the zoning district. F is that persons with disabilities are provided with access. The variance is not related to ADA accessibility or reasonable accommodation. Changing the facades would not affect anything under the ADA Act. G is that if the variance, if granted, would not adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare of the people of the municipality. There are no health or safety issues that will be caused by approval of this variance, and it's related to a major site plan review that would allow for expansion of the healthcare facility in Gerdwood. H deals with signs. This standard is met because it is not applicable. There's nothing related to signs about the variance. So given these criteria being met and taking into account the support from GBOS, the department recommends approval of the variance from code to allow for the reduction and alteration width on the east elevation and length on north elevation as specified in the application narrative and shown in the building plans dated March 15th, 2021. In the second condition, that a notice of zoning action be filed with the State of Alaska District Recorder's Office. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? Seeing none, is there a petitioner available that would like to speak? If so, please state your name and spell it for the record.
Hi, my name is Deanna Napster, and that is D-E-A-N-N-A. Last name is N as in November, A as in Alpha, F as in Foxtrot, Z as in Zulu, G as in Golf, E as in Echo, R as in Romeo. Sorry, that's a mouthful for y'all. And I am with Spark Design. I'm here tonight representing the Gerdwood Health Clinic, and Juan Lee is also on the phone from R&M. As the staff report outlined, we are seeking a design variance to Title 21, Chapter 9. Actually, I guess I should confirm. Are you ready for me to start that?
Yes, my apologies. I thought you were starting, so we did start the clock. But
okay, perfect.
In lieu of that, did you want to reserve time for rebuttal?
Yes. I'm going to be really quick, so it'll mainly be rebuttal.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
And I guess we'd like to reserve at least 3 minutes. So let's say that.
Okay, so you're not reserving any specific time. You think you'll have plenty of time?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I couldn't understand you. Okay, you are good to go.
Yeah. So as staff outlined, the Gerdwood Health Clinic is seeking a design variance to Title 21, Chapter 9, the Building Design Standards, Section 080. Staff went into great detail about the variance on both the east and the north elevation, and your packets include diagrams and other information that further illustrates why we are seeking these variances. One of the conditions that I don't think staff touched upon is along the east elevation, we are sandwiched between the setback and the existing building elevation. Our goal is to maintain the operations throughout construction in order to allow the residents of Gerdwood and the Valley to be serviced year-round without interruption. We have our health clinic, the health clinic and the design team have attended 3 Gerdwood Board of Supervisors meetings, as well as 3 land use committee meetings here in Gerdwood, all held virtually. We presented the project to the community, received input, and incorporated as much input as we could into the project. And as staff outlined, we did receive a resolution of support from the Gerdwood Board of Supervisors. What they did not indicate was that we received unanimous support from residents at the Land Use Committee as well. And other than that, I think I will reserve the remaining time for rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of Mrs. Natsker? Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes, not that it matters to me, but what is the change from 3 feet in depth to 4 feet minimum? I don't think we should measure articulation by foot, but I just want to know why is that change requested?
So that, Monica, that is outlined in the packet, and I'm trying to find the exact page for you. It is on page 4 of our application. So the west wall of phase 1 is approximately 9 inches from the east face of the existing clinic. And the east wall of the building is right up against our setback. The corner along grid D there is right up against the required setback from the building. And so we reduced the lab as much as we could. We reduced the toilet rooms, we reduced the check-in, and we reduced the corridors as much as we could, and still be able to maintain comfortable maneuverability within the clinic space. And so really it's just a direct result of being set up against both an existing building wall and a setback, and squeezing as much program space as we could into that area.
Okay, thank you. I think the building retains the total visual beauty and character of Gerwood, and I think you guys done a great job with the articulation, and yeah, thank you.
Oh, may I just add a minor point of clarification?
Yes, please.
Oh, all I wanted to add was just the page numbers. Page 13 is where the narrative starts for the application, so that looks to be page 1 of the narrative. Before that is the form. So that's all. Just if the reference was to page 4 of the narrative, that would be, if I could scroll down, page 16 of the packet. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of the petitioner? Seeing none, we will now open the hearing to public testimony. Is there anyone wishing to testify?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Mrs. Natsker, you do have 8 minutes and 22 seconds if there's anything else you would like to add.
I don't think there's anything I would like to add. We do have a member of the board is on the call, as well as the executive director. If it's all right with the commission, they may wish to say something on behalf of the clinic.
This is the GBOS director? Is that, I'm sorry, was that what you were saying?
The executive director of the Gerdwood Clinic, as well as the their board chairperson, are both on the line.
Yes, if they'd like to speak, just need to state their name and spell it for the record.
Hi, this is Connie Buck, and I am the executive director of the Gerdwood Health Clinic. I just wanted to thank you for the consideration of our request and state that this project is really exciting for Gerdwood and will really expand our capabilities for healthcare, and our appreciation for the consideration of allowing us to do this project while continuing operation without having to be interrupted with our services to the community, which are so important right now during the pandemic. It's a challenge to build on the same property that we're operating on, and this is really critical to that. So I thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you. Commissioner Sullivan, did you have a question?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, is there anyone else the petitioner would like to have speak on their behalf?
I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Mrs. Kathy Troutner, if you can please mute your team's microphone and then call 343-6067.
Are you able to hear me?
Oh, there you are. Okay, welcome.
Yes, I had dialed that, and I wasn't exactly sure of the process. Anyway, this is Kathy Troutner, and I am the board chair of our clinic board. And as Tawny Buck already said, this is a very exciting project, and Juan and Deanna have worked very hard to get it to work well in the space that we have. And I did attend both the GBOS meetings and the land use planning in Gerdwood, and there was a tremendous support for this project with the adjustments that they had made. I think it's going to be a beautiful project as well as a very useful addition to have a fully functioning clinic in Gerdwood. And so thank you very much for your time and attention and consideration of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on behalf of the petitioner? You have 6 minutes.
Nope, that would be everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of staff? Okay. I will now close the public hearing. May we have a motion? Need a motion on the floor. Oh, there it is. We have a motion from Commissioner Cash and a second from Commissioner Morse. Commissioner Cash, would you please state your motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I move that case number 2021-0035, which is a variance request to allow for a reduction in alteration width on the east elevation and length on north elevation for the new Gerwood Health Clinic per AMC 21.09.080 F2D. The new Gerdwood Town Site, Alaska Subdivision, Block 1, Lot 17 and 18.
Thank you. Okay. Could you please speak to your motion, Commissioner Cash? We do have a second on the floor.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair Rim. I support this motion and I support this project. I think that the approval criteria clearly have been met. The character, first of all, it definitely achieves the intent of the subject design standard. It's very much in character with the mountain design that has been established. and that is the goal there. The windows will effectively break the visual length on the long elevation to the east, and on the north elevation, the materials will help break up the extra length on that wall. So I think those two are very successfully met. Item B is also met. It is in size and scale with the surrounding community. It is human scale with the perpetuation of Gerdwood's small town atmosphere that is their goal. Item C, the standard is also met. The proposed alternative results in benefits to the community that are equivalent to or better than compliance with the subject standard. Criteria D, the variance, if granted, will not adversely affect the use of adjacent property as permitted under this code. This standard is met, and the granting of the variance will serve to complement and not adversely affect any adjacent uses. Criteria E, the variance, if granted, does not change the character of the zoning district where the property is located, is in keeping with the intent of the code, and does not permit a use not otherwise permitted in the district in which the property lies. This is also met. This is a permitted use in the GC7 Townsite Square Commercial District, subject to the major site plan review, which is forthcoming. Criteria F, persons with disabilities are provided with access, and this standard is met because the variance is not actually related to ADA accessibility. And criteria G, the standard is met. The variance, if granted, does not adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare. On the contrary, it will complement and serve the health, safety, and welfare of the people of the municipality. And criteria H is met. There is no applicability of a sign at this point.
And to clarify the motion on the floor, you...
Oh, I drilled down.
Department recommendations?
That's correct,
okay.
Yes. The department recommendations 1 and 2 are intended to be included, which number 1 is variance from AMC 21.09.080F 2D to allow for reduction in alteration width on the east elevation and length on north elevation as specified in the application narrative and shown in the building plans. Replacement clinic dated March 15th, 2021 for Gerwood Health Clinic, Inc., prepared by R&M Consultants and Spark Design. And number 2, prior to this variance becoming effective, a notice of zoning action shall be filed with the State of Alaska District Recorder's Office, including a copy of the resolution of approval and approved site plan. I'm very excited about this project.
Thank you. Commissioner Morse, do you care to speak to your second?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This project meets the intent of the code 2109-080 F2D while pointing out the current flaw in our Title 21, not allowing enough design flexibility, but this project has demonstrated why more flexibility should be allowed to the professionals in our community.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak or add findings of fact? Okay, seeing none, may we have a vote?
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Cash?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Ms. Morse?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Chair Ream?
Yes. The motion has passed. Thank you. Okay, the last case, I believe, might be for the same location. Okay, so the last case that we have under public hearings is case 2021-0036. Petitioner is the Gerwood Health Clinic. request for a revised major site plan review for the new Gerdwood Health Clinic for a new larger building at the existing clinic site. And this meeting was also postponed. Do we have a presentation from staff?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair Rem. So yes, that's correct. This case is also for the Gerwood Health Clinic. So the commission just approved of the variance in the design. The case before the commission now is a major site plan review. So again, the Gerwood Health Clinic has served the community in their current spot for 23 years. In their current 2,450 square foot facility, and they're looking in the first phase to expand to 6,421 square feet. Later phases of development would increase the square feet additionally to include a behavioral health support space. A healthcare facility is a permitted use in the GC7, which is the Gerdwood Townsite Square Commercial District, but it's subject to a major site plan review before this commission. Proposed improvements to the healthcare facility include a lobby, vitals and triage room, 4 exam rooms, a lab, medication room, x-ray, trauma procedure, contagious exam, and behavioral health services, also administrative spaces. For this case, no reviewing agencies objected to the proposed project site plan. No comments from the public objected to the project site plan, and the Gerdwood Board of Supervisors, or GBOS, provided a resolution of support for the major site plan review. There's 4 approval criteria for a major site plan review, and I'll just go through those to touch on highlights that are in the staff report. One is that the site plan is consistent with any previously approved subdivision plats, planned development master plan, or other precedent plan or land use approval. This proposed site plan is consistent with the underlying plat, and there are no conflicts with any other land use approval, so this standard is met. Standard 2 is that the site plan complies with all applicable development and design standards. There's quite a few of those, so I won't speak to every single one, but I'll just try to touch upon the highlights that were under number 2 as far as development and design standards. So one of those would be the zoning district. Again, this is in the GC7 district. In this development is in alignment with the intent of that zone. Another one under criteria 2 is the district-specific standards. This development meets those for building orientation, for the relationship to the town square park, for fences, for snow storage area, and for parking. There's also district-specific standards for commercial districts. Those mainly deal with arcades and covered walkways. The parcels to the south and west of the subject parcel are vacant, therefore private covered walkways do not apply. There are covered walkways provided along the east and north building facade, and the entryway of the clinic has a 9-foot covered entryway. Setbacks are met in the commercial district. It meets the code for table of allowed uses. It's a permitted use subject to the site plan review. Dimensional standards are met. As are standards and code for grading and drainage, landscaping, vegetation, and tree retention. For that one, code requires that this use would provide a 10% natural vegetation and 20% total permeable surface. The proposed site plan exceeds those requirements. Standards for lighting, transportation, and connectivity are met. There is an 8-foot covered walkway provided adjacent to the building on the north and east sides of the building. That one would help meet the design standards for transportation and connectivity. As far as lighting, there's lighting proposed in the parking lot. That would be with 14-foot poles. Those are under the minimum height requirement. There's plans for the exterior site lighting that would limit glare, light trespass, and light pollution. The proposed site plan provides sidewalks along the north and east property boundaries, along Lindblad Avenue and Hightower Road, in exceedance of the minimum sidewalk width of 5 feet. That helps meet design standards for pedestrian circulation. Design standards for snow management require an area of 514 square feet for snow storage. The proposed site plan provides 600 square feet for snow storage. Note that the proposed area for the snow is not located within required natural vegetation. For off-street parking, there is recommended a condition of approval to resolve the parking requirement and obtain a shared parking agreement with the traffic engineering department. The site plan shows 5 standard spaces, 1 ADA accessible space, and 1 ambulance parking space. Note that off-street parking is not required in this zoning district, but that condition of approval is still recommended for the commission for this case. The design meets requirements for signage. There's another condition of approval to provide a sign detail though, just to make sure that one is fully covered. The proposed driveway is 20 feet wide. That complies with the 12-foot minimum and 24-foot maximum. For trash management, the site plan provides a refuse container screening, and that meets code. If you're following along, I'm on page 7 of the staff report. The proposed design meets requirements for the mountain building style and for building colors, as well as scale and size. The commission just passed the design variance that helps meet that. For building facade elements, the proposed building provides windows that are rectangular and vertically oriented. There's not a continuous area of glass, just surrounded by trim. The site plan meets requirements for roofs. There's proposed to be a ventilated cold roof assembly that would avoid glaciation, and there's sufficient roof overhangs. Let's see, this meets requirements for porches, entrances, arcades, and roofed walkways. And building materials. The building materials are proposed to be laminate panels and 2 wood tones. There's no prohibited building materials proposed to be used. So that, again, all those design requirements fall under the criteria 2 in evaluating this site plan. Criteria 3 is that the site plan addresses significant adverse impacts. This standard is met. The requested improvements will enhance the clinic service to the community. The expansion is in the same spot that the clinic is already located, which is in it's in a town center. There's parking, covered walkways, and a pleasing design in alignment with municipality plans. For criteria 4 is that the development is consistent with goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. This is met. The Gerdwood area plan classifies the area as commercial. It perpetuates Gerdwood's small town atmosphere, and it provides facilities and services to maintain and enhance the quality of community life and continue the growth of the Gerdwood community. With that, the department recommends approval subject to the following conditions. 1, a notice of zoning action be filed with the State of Alaska District Recorder's Office. 2, that construction conforms to the submitted application, narrative, and plans on file, except as amended for it to be the replacement clinic plans dated March 15th, 2021. And then other conditions are that the sign detail be provided to the planning department to make sure that design standards is met. 4, to resolve with the traffic engineering and planning departments that there's a shared parking agreement and that there's sufficient parking. And 5 relates to obtaining the design variance. I suppose the commission did just pass that. I still think it should be left as a condition just because someone could appeal that decision. So I still think condition 5, that the applicant obtain and record a design variance for the reduction in alteration width on the east elevation and length on the north elevation. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions for staff? Seeing none, is the petitioner available and do they wish to speak? If so, please state your name, spell it for the record, and then let me know if you want time for rebuttal.
Thank you. This is Juan Lee through the chair. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you now, yes.
Excellent. Thank you. So my name is Juan Lee. It's spelled V as in Victor, A-N, and my last name is Lee, L-E. And I'm with R&M Consultants representing Steve Fishback Architects in the Gerwood Clinic. And I also have, of course, Deanna Nasker here from Spark Architects. And we also have Tawny Buck, the Executive Director from the Gerwood Clinic, as well as Kathy Troutner as a board member. I just want to thank staff for their detailed analysis and staff report. Thank you very much. You went into all the details of conformance with the Gerwood area plans, municipal adopted policies, as well as Gerdwood Chapter 9, Title 21. So with that, I will keep my presentation short and leave time for questions. I would like the remainder of my presentation time to be saved and used for rebuttal if needed.
Okay.
So I just want to say quickly that the Gerwood Clinic has been a critical asset for the residents as well as visitors for the past 23 years. We've mentioned that several times in the previous case for the variance and also through our application and narrative for this project, the major site plan review. It is the only medical clinic between Hope and Huffman Road in Anchorage, so it serves a large area, the greater Turnagain Arm area, as well as Hope, which is part of the Kenai Peninsula Borough. And with this addition, expansion, the clinic will be able to be optimized and serve more of its patients as well as customers with additional services that was mentioned by staff and is also in the packet. The redesign also includes site plans, which we feel is in character with what Gerwood residents and the community of Gerwood have told us through their adopted plans, their policies, their own chapter of Title 21. This includes the landscaping, drainage, and parking, and creating a much better site circulation as well as connecting to the existing non-motorized amenities that are within the Gerwood town site. This upgraded clinic will serve the greater Gerwood community as well as visitors that come to the community all season. And we just want to say that we agree with staff's recommendations and conditions of approval. And with that, I will save the remainder of my time for rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the petitioner? Seeing none. We will now open the hearing to public testimony. I believe we do have a couple of call-ins.
Hi, this is the Google Assistant. Can I ask what you're calling about?
Madam Chair, what do I...
It sounds like an assisted answer.
Okay.
Maybe just ask.
All righty, we'll connect again.
Good evening, this is Christina.
Hello, Christina Cope. Is this Christina Cope?
It is.
This is the Urban Design Commission calling for public testimony on case 2021-0036 regarding a revised major site plan review for the new Gerdwood Clinic. Are you testifying as an individual or representing a group?
I am testifying as an individual.
Alrighty, you will have 3 minutes to provide your testimony. Please state your full name for the record and you can begin.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Christina Hendrickson. My address is P.O. Box 978 in Gerdwood, and I reside at 150 Hightower Road. This address is home to a 15-unit condo building in which I am the only full-time owner resident. Physically, we are 372 feet from the current clinic site. Our building has one parking spot for each unit, and the majority of our units own more than one vehicle, and we share parking around the town square in the new Gerdwood town site. Within 500 feet in any direction from the clinic's location are a grocery store, 3 restaurants, 1 multi-unit building, and 1 multi-unit trailer park, an inn, and a coffee shop, 5 businesses, and the town's post office, where thousands of us have post office boxes absent of any physical mail delivery, all operating during clinic hours. The clinic's board did not consult with any of these businesses about the potential impacts of this increased design, removing key parking spaces from those currently used by the majority of the clinic staff and the visitors. I oppose the clinic's expansion in this location due to the parking and the board of directors' lack of fiduciary responsibility towards vetting other suitable locations to serve Gerdwood in a more robust site. Routinely, there are no less than 10 cars parked in the clinic parking lot and along the town square corner serving the clinic. This site's expansion will increase the number of employees, visitors, and of course their vehicles. The majority of patients and employees do not use the Gerdwood Valley Transit bus system. The clinic operates within the daytime services offered from the aforementioned businesses, thus competing for parking spaces. Gerdwood lacks parking enforcement and a local tow company. Thus, residents and businesses are unduly impacted by this design. As a resident and a patient who has received primary care from the clinic since 2012, I never received a survey about the clinic's expansion, services to be offered, nor the clinic's design. From 2018 to 2020, I served on the Gerwood Board of Supervisors. My notes from the multiple presentations from clinic board members concluded that the potential south town site location provided an adequate footprint, including additional expansion opportunities, ample parking, and was co-located with other valley services, such as our library and our fire department. Further, the use of the south town site's recreational facilities and the clinic operations would offset each other. In 2019, the board of directors, its consultants, and the municipality had ample opportunities to thoroughly vet the south town site's current platted access, available soil data, available utilities and infrastructure, and align with shared services to pursue grants for that suitable location. This is all publicly available data that any consultant should have gathered, assessed, and documented to demonstrate the need for a $5 million to be spent in the clinic's current location. In 2020, the clinic failed to align with the Little Bears for shared facilities. The board remanded back to its known space along the town square and began the narrative of uncertainties toward the south town site location to steer the selection and appear to be shovel-ready to receive funds.
Thank
This
you.
is a lost opportunity.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. This is the chair. You've exceeded your 3 minutes, but I do appreciate your testimony. Are there any questions of this caller? Okay, I do appreciate you calling in. That was a lot of thorough information. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You have reached Dr. Lubitsch White Confidential.
We got her voicemail. That was the last one, Madam Chair.
Okay, would the petitioner like to speak? Use your remaining time. I think you have 7 minutes.
Through the chair, this is Juan Lee with R&A Consultants. No, thank you. Unless Kathy or Tani, if you would like to add anything to our presentation, now's the time. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Art Clark.
Hi, Commissioner Clark, did you have a question of the petitioner?
Yeah, I do. I'm a little concerned about that parking issue that was raised by the last caller. I'd like to see if the petitioner has some guidance for us. I didn't see anything in the packet. Maybe I just overlooked it regarding anybody writing in about any comments, but I am concerned about that parking issue that was discussed.
Through the chair, this is Juan Lee. I can address the parking concerns that Commissioner Clark is asking about. So the packet does have in our narrative, it's page 11 of the PDF. I'm sorry, maybe Elizabeth can help me with where it is in the packet. So in the GC7 is written. It was updated by Gerwood residents without the municipality. And typically in the GC7 district, which is where the clinic is situated, the GC7 zoning district, if the clinic was a commercial use, parking on site would actually be prohibited. So the clinic is considered a community use and not a commercial use. So if the clinic were commercial use, parking would not be required because the Gerwood Code in the town site especially does not want any development that would provide a lot of on-site parking, a lot of pavement. The intent of the Gerwood town site in the different plans and the code is to ensure that everything is human scaled, walkable. There's connectivity. It's next to Town Square Park, which is really valued as the anchor for the town site. And that there's ample off-site parking. The analysis is in the packet. There's 41 off-site parking adjacent to the clinic, and that can be used by the clinic if needed. And according to the traffic engineer, and it is a condition of approval that staff put in the packet that we do need to resolve to make sure that we have enough parking. But during the pre-application meeting with the traffic department, the fact that there is other off-street parking that is not dedicated to any one business, it's allowed to be used by all the businesses in the town site. That does meet the requirement for parking. The site does have, the Gerwood Clinic site does have 5 parking spots. One is ADA accessible, the other one's for an ambulance. And we are still required to provide parking to show that parking is available, and that can be the off-site parking, the street parking, and the parking that is across the street at the post office during off hours can be used also to accommodate clients and patients to the clinic. The clinic is a primary care clinic, so it typically requires appointments, and obviously walking is encouraged to get to your appointment, or drop off by others for your appointment. So it is meant to take into account the intent of the plans, the community's vision, as well as not providing a lot of parking lots that could really isn't the best and highest use in this Gerwood town site area. So to Commissioner Clark, I hope I answered your question. It is in the packet, and we do have to resolve that with the traffic engineer as well.
Thank you very much.
And if you're still looking for that page, it's 25 and 26 of the packet. Are there any other questions of the petitioner? It appears that there are no other questions. We will now close the public hearing. May we have a motion? Did you click move? We have a motion from Commissioner Sullivan. Would you please state your motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve case 2021-0036, a revised major site plan review for the new Gerwood Health Clinic for a larger building at the existing clinic site. Subject to recommendations 1 through 5, and the project meets all the criteria standards stated by staff early, number 1 through 4.
Let me go ahead and I think we need a second on the floor before you state your findings. Commissioner McKee is seconded, so you may go ahead. My apologies.
Okay. The project meets all the criteria standards stated by staff, number 1 through 4, exceeds the intent of the design standards. The project retains the visual beauty and character of Gerwood Valley's natural landscape. It's an excellent project that beneficiates the community and also the visitors. I intend to support the motion.
Thank you. And Commissioner McKee, would you like to speak to your second?
Sure. I also move to approve case 2021-0036.
Make sure you're speaking into the mic.
Okay. I also move to approve case number 2021-0036. I agree with staff findings that all the standards have been met with departments recommendations 1 through 5, that a notice of zoning action shall be filed with the State of Alaska District Recorder's Office, including a copy of the resolution of approval and approved site plan. All construction shall substantially conform to the following submitted application, narrative, and plans on file with the Planning Department, except as amended below. That the replacement clinic dated March 15th, 2021 for Gerdwood Health Clinic Incorporated, prepared by R&M Consultants and Spark Design. Provide to the Planning Department a sign detail in accordance with AMC 21.09.070M.B. 4, resolve with the Traffic Engineering and Planning Departments the requirement to determine the required parking and obtain a shared parking agreement. And condition 5, obtain and record a design variance for a reduction in alteration width on the east elevation and length on the north elevation per AMC 21.09.080 F.2.D, or revise the proposed site plan to meet the minimum requirements.
Thank you. Are there any other findings? Anyone else have anything that they want to say? Seeing none? Nope. We have one?
I couldn't hit my button fast. Oh. I would like to add that the plan is in line with the Gerdwood area plan, the 2040 land use plan as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Morse. Okay. If that's all, then I think we need to vote. The motion on the floor is to approve the site plan for the Gerdwood Health Clinic, subject to department recommendations 1 through 5.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Cash?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Ms. Morse?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Chair Ream?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Ms. Lee and Ms. Buck and Ms. Natsker. And everyone else that joined in tonight. Thank you. That concludes our public hearings. And we don't have anything officially on the agenda after this, except we'll wait for this. This is going to take a second. Yeah. I guess not. They're staying. Okay, good. Okay, I just wanted to reach out to Melissa Morse, Commissioner Morse, for her time here. You have been absolutely wonderful on this commission. You've served your position well. You've provided a lot of insight, and you will be missed.
Thank you. If I have a moment, a little word for the wise, especially to the new ones on the commission going forward. Whether you agree or disagree, the getting your opinion in the record, so stating your findings, you don't have to agree to state findings, and that has made the most difference in the public opinion. Whether you agree or disagree, the fact that there's something on the record, that's been my experience.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything they want to say? Or would you like to?
Yes, this is Art. I signed off inadvertently on the team thing, but I want to say that we will miss Commissioner Morris a great deal. It's been lovely having her with the commission. She's added a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark.
And if I may.
You may.
Commissioner Morris, I have always appreciated your thoughtful comments, well articulated, well put together. You've been an inspiration to me, so thank you.
Thanks, Barb.
You guys all have a good week. Bye-bye.
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Morse for her final time, and seconded by Commissioner Clark. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.